Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. This is our first Sunshine Notice Town Hall we're having here, and we're really grateful for all of you joining us.
Thank you, Omar.
As you see, we have a really long agenda, and it's extensive because I wanted to make sure that we were going to include all of the current projects and give everybody as much of an idea as to what we've been doing over the last 5 years. So I'd like to introduce a couple of people that are here first from the city, the admin staff, and a couple of the different commissioners' offices. So to start with Mayor Minor, Blake Goldman, Deputy Chief of Staff. We also have Jacqueline Boudin from Commissioner Kristen Rosa Gonzalez's office, her aide. Matt, thanks to Julian Desroy from Laura Dominguez's office for all the assistance and help in getting this meeting set up. And also Commissioner Fernandez, Cara has been amazing. So thank you all for making this possible and for joining us here today. I guess let's start with the agenda. The first item is an agenda item that was on April's agenda, or May? C7AQ, which is...
Biscayne Elementary.
Oh, Biscayne Elementary, yeah, that was at the last city commission meeting.
Great, so it directs the city to work with the school board in Biscayne Elementary on an urgent inspection and remediation of the school's stormwater and sanitary sewer systems. And as I said, sponsored by Commissioner Fernandez, so I'd like to pass over the mic and let you tell us a little bit about it.
Sure. And thank you, Omar, for organizing this meeting. It's my second meeting with an organized group of North Beach residents in the past few weeks. And it's great to see this level of organization and stakeholders coming together. To Omar's point, at our last city commission meeting, we came together to authorize our city administration to do something that's somewhat unusual. Usually the city, as a jurisdiction, as a government, wouldn't go into someone else's property, wouldn't go into another government's property. Biscayne Beach Elementary is one of such properties where we have authorized the city administration to work with the school board, and we'll explain why. Last year, actually the year before last, we initiated a study with the University of Miami to identify what is the source of the elevated bacteria in the Parkview Canal. And as all of you know, I don't need to tell you what's been going on there. For the past 5 years, elevated levels of nutrients have prevented residents from being able to enjoy that canal with no water, no contact advisories recurring there. The UM study, the most recent UM study, identified a hot spot coming out of the outfall at Biscayne Beach Elementary. And what that alerts us to is that notwithstanding all the investments we have done year after year in the city, and we've been doing a lot of investments, I think in the millions of dollars, multi-million dollars investments underground around this area of Miami Beach, relining pipes and otherwise, there was still a source at Biscayne Beach Elementary. Why is that significant? Well, we've done our lines, we've relined our lines, but not the lines of Biscayne Beach Elementary because we don't own those lines. It's a separate government. It is the school board. Traditionally, it's been very difficult to work with the school board. But when this report came out, I called the chair of the Miami-Dade County School Board, Maritere Rojas, who is a dear friend. She immediately put the superintendent in contact with our city manager. They had an on-site meeting there to explore the next steps. We passed this resolution so that we could use our city's taxpayers' dollars to go into another government and fix this so that we can finally restore, hopefully, water quality there. This past weekend, our assistant city manager, David Martinez, and his team from the Public Works Department were there at the site. They did the first round of inspection, the first round of passing cameras through the pipes. There's gonna be a second round of inspections of those pipes. They're gonna be doing some sophisticated tests, including putting dye in the different toilets and different places to see, okay, is this making its way to the outfall? So we can figure out then what are the next steps we need to do to fix this. And it's ultimately significant. Why? This is the one area in this area affected by this elevated level of contaminants that we have not relined the pipes. But we have relined pipes in North Beach. And there has been significant improvement. We've gone from about 1,300, a level of 1,300, to now, and during low tide, it's about 70, is that correct? Yes, okay, so to about, and I'm looking at Amy Knowles, our Chief Resiliency Officer. So we've gone from about 1,300 level of bacteria to about 70 during low tide. And that's significant, but we still need to make progress. And I'm hopeful that with a partnership with Miami-Dade County Public Schools, the investment of dollars to fix infrastructure there, hopefully, we'll be able to see an improvement and bring those levels back to normal and safe levels.
Yeah, and as you know, we were very concerned about the sewer lines on Parkview because we have been getting a lot of overflows. I think we got 3 of them in the space of like 2 months a couple of years ago. And that it's completely unacceptable. But we have had no more since the relining of the pipes, so we're definitely seeing improvements.
And I just want to add that is thanks, you know, and I do this a lot, and I know a lot of people sometimes roll their eyes when I do this. It is controversial in other governments when one government steps in to fund the infrastructure of another government. In Miami Beach, this has been a unanimous decision of our city commission. Our mayor, Stephen Minor, called it the item. We had unanimous support of our commission. Commissioner Dominguez was instrumental as well through our committee discussions on this, because this is all a unified effort. And so in other governments, they'll say, oh, the city of Miami Beach sending money to another taxing entity. Well, we already give them tax dollars, so why would we do that? Here, to the contrary, here, this city commission, in a unified effort, went knocking on the door of the school board and said, let us come in, let us do this, we will pay for it. Because what's most important is not who pays for it and whose jurisdiction it is restoring the water quality level for the residents and the taxpayers we serve.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be a major step forward when we have Biscayne Beach Elementary resolved and it's no longer polluting the Parkview Canal. But let's move on to the second item. I think there's something really important that I missed. I hadn't prepared the full list of city officials that have joined us today, and I did miss a few, so I'm sorry, I'm going to go through them right now. So David Martinez, Thomas Curatore from Parks, Lindsay Precht, Amy Knowles, Chief Resiliency Officer, Jay Fink, Patricia. Thank you for joining us. Item number 2 on the agenda is Commissioner Laura Dominguez item. It's a C4M. It's a referral to the Public Safety, Neighborhood and Quality of Life Committee to discuss a suitable location for the kayak launch in North Beach. And as you know, the kayak launch is the first item that we started advocating on behalf of because the kayak launch has now been closed for 5 years. It's completely unacceptable, again, and I know that Laura has been a big advocate of sustainability and environmental sustainability in our area. So she's looking for an alternate location, but I'll let Laura take you through it. Thank you.
Thank you. So I work closely with Amy Knowles and her team because I do really care about the environment, sustainability, our tree canopy, our private property adaptation program, you name it, I'm on board. And Amy and I have been talking about looking for a potential new location for the kayak launch. The city currently has 3 designated spots, one in the South Beach area, which is Maurice Gibb Park, one in Pine Tree at the park there, and then Parkview Island that's been closed for 5 years. So I do have a referral to neighborhoods. It will be heard in the May neighborhoods meeting, May 12th. You can tune in. It's from 10 to about 1 o'clock. And so the Parks Department is currently scouting for locations that would be acceptable for a kayak launch for North Beach. And some of the locations that I think they're currently looking at, but more information at the May 12th meeting, are some of our parks up in North Beach, Brittany Bay Park. There's also a police substation on Indian Creek, and that could be a location. Along Tatum Waterway is another area that they're exploring, and of course in Normandy Isle. And currently, while they're exploring, water quality is also being tested because we want to make sure that any place that we're recommending has safe water for the new kayak launch.
I think it's great. We were one of the first to get in contact with Commissioner Dominguez when we heard of the referral, and we quickly suggested the Tatum Waterway Walkway because it's already being used as an unofficial kayak launch. You know, the little beachy area, if you're familiar with the walkway, it's kind of dangerous actually at the moment, the way that it is. But thank God, you know, it's been many, many years and nothing has happened. Karen, I'll definitely get to you in a second. But, you know, it's time for this kayak launch to be relocated somewhere else if we're not going to be using it in the near future.
Is that off Friendship Walk? You meant Biscayne Elementary?
Yes.
That beach?
It's the proposed location that we sent to the commissioner was the little beachy area right there, which is going to be directly adjacent to the Biscayne Beach Elementary Playgrounds expansion, which we're going to be discussing in just a second. So if you can imagine in the future, when Biscayne Beach Elementary's playground expansion has been completed, the project that we have on the Tatum Waterway Walkway with Commissioner Dominguez also has been completed, and the upgrades to the walkway have been done. And we also may have a kayak launch there. It's just going to completely transform that area, and it's going to turn it into an asset for the entire community. Right now, it's what we call a hidden gem. But we want to make it more than a hidden gem. It's going to be an asset for all of North Beach. So, thank you, Commissioner. I do see Karen has a question.
I have a couple. First of all, if you find the source is Biscayne Elementary,
Thank you.
why can't we use the launch if we clean that up? You said you're gonna clean up the water, why can't we just use the current one?
Correct. So, unfortunately, as we all know, water holds no boundaries. And so, the Parkview kayak launch is infested right now, right? And so it has been for the last 5 years. But now, yeah, sorry.
I'm
I
sorry.
just want to
Yeah. And there's two hot spots. Amy, the second hot spot is because there's one at Biscayne Beach Elementary, and I think it's in the kayak launch actually. The kayak launch is actually the other hot spot.
What do you mean hotspot?
Hotspot for bacteria. So when higher level of bacteria than what is healthy or recommended. And so when UN did this study, they went in and they saw, okay, what are the levels in different areas? And then they identified what are the areas where it is most significantly out of control, let's say. And these two areas were identified as hotspots. One being the kayak launch, and the second being Biscayne Beach Elementary. Now, before Biscayne Beach Elementary, and the reason, why I made an item, a directive, legislative directive on Biscayne Beach Elementary, so before our city really wasn't looking at solving the problem there because it wasn't our property. We really had no authority, no right, no jurisdiction to go in there into someone else's home and address the issue. And now we're doing that. But the kayak launch is another area that our public works staff is working on.
Yeah, Paula has a question over here.
Hi. There's two spots that you're referring to.
Yes.
What's in between those two spots?
It's
The
bad,
pumping
but not as
station. The pumping station, it makes no sense. And the last meeting that I came to, similar to this one, said, no, we did no testing at the pumping station. Everybody seems to be tiptoeing around the pumping station. Why aren't we testing that? That's where it's coming from. I ride my bike through the neighborhood every day. I ride Crab Alley. As soon as I get to the pumping station, not even the school, the pumping station, I'm like, oh my God, it smells like a sewer here. Now, I don't know why we're pussyfooting around the pumping station. Maybe because the city doesn't want to make that investment, I don't know. But I know that is not a hotspot, a screaming, flaming hotspot.
So Amy, let me just add, Amy, so with the UM study, was the pump station considered, was it analyzed?
So each
And
study.
Amy
Yeah.
Knowles, our Chief Resiliency Officer.
So good evening, everyone, and I'm happy to be here and I hope we can be helpful. I know this has been a very difficult issue for all of you. So with the UM study, each one had a very specific objective. You know, we're looking at science, we're looking at understanding what the problems are, how to rule out problems, how to narrow down the source. The sanitary sewer system, including the pump station, has always been looked at by the city. UM was looking at more broadly, what are the sources? Is it sewage? Is it stormwater? Is it, private outfalls? Is it in the groundwater? Is it in the puddles? Is it in the stormwater system? So as they're looking broadly and then narrowing it down, that actual pump station has been hardened, so there are no leaks from it. And so we have data showing that it's not coming from there. I'm not saying you're not having a smell, but it wasn't identified as a source in the studies.
So UM has
Yeah.
looked at this area?
Well, they don't, so for example, they're not going to do an infrastructure analysis because they don't do that. They're looking at the environment and where is the bacteria and where it's coming from.
Right.
So we have third parties that we hire as a city, our public works team, that goes in to make sure our sanitary sewer is tested properly. And it has to, we're governed by the county, we're governed by the state. So we're held to a very high level.
Now, let me ask you this, and perhaps this is a question to Public Works. I know we recently approved a purchasing item, a procurement item, having to do with filtration to address the issue of odors with the pump stations. And this is a recurring issue. This is not an issue unique to this station. It happens in other areas. Are we looking, and can we consider any of these types of installations to address odor at this pump station? Because I know we recently did approve a procurement on that.
Good evening, my name is Jay Fink, I'm Deputy Director of Public Works. Commissioner, while I can't answer exactly if we've done odor control in this pump station, I know that we've done odor control in a number of pump stations.
Would you like to come to the front so the camera parameters are
My name is Jay Fink, I'm Deputy Director of Public Works. And throughout, typically in any sewer pump station, there's certain things we look at as far as rehabilitation. There was a question whether there was any sewerage coming from a pump station that could be polluting the canal. What we have already done with that pump station is reline the wet well. The wet well is the concrete structure that's underground that basically holds all the sewage before the pump pumps it out. So that was dewatered, it's been relined, so we're confident that it's not, there's no pollution coming from there, getting through concrete walls and into the groundwater. We have already done, as has been said, an awful lot of lining of the gravity sewer mains. Your sewer mains are your pipes that are under the ground, typically clay, newer construction is PVC, but those clay, because they come in 4-foot sections, there's a joint every 4 feet. So what we do with those is we basically run a fiberglass liner through those pipes. In other words, what you're doing is creating a new pipe inside the old pipe. So we're confident again that we've done what we need to do to make sure there's no exfiltration, nothing seeping out of those pipes, again, into the groundwater, which could affect the water quality. And then lastly, as far as odors, every pump station is going to have some level of odors. We do have gone through a number of upgrades on different stations and addressed the odors with odor control.
Is this something we can explore? Is this something that we can explore here?
We can certainly explore it, but the odors that you smell don't necessarily translate to the water quality, especially what's going to be out in Parkview Canal.
Okay, but why then, this is a process of elimination. A kayak launch creates no pollution, no feces, no poo-poo, no anything. Why at the kayak launch, which is right next to the pumping station, is there such an outrageously high bacteria count? I don't understand that, and I need to. And it's not every day. I think when whatever you're talking about, your box might overflow a little bit on occasion.
That's okay. And
I'm just,
Yeah, no, it's okay.
great, good, lots of questions, good logic. There is a stormwater outfall that is adjacent to, there is a stormwater outfall that is adjacent to that kayak launch, which is some of the testing that was done, and that's where they found those elevated levels. Over at Biscayne Elementary, there was a stormwater outfall that comes in from the school. That's where they measured, and that's where they found the elevated levels. So, as Amy had indicated, they're targeting specific locations to sample to see what those levels are. And that's where they found these two spots were problematic high elevations of bacteria. And so now next step is go up those pipes. What else can we find? What else can we do?
But, in the past, our city has informed the public that it's because of dog poop. That it's because there's not enough dog, we would need mountains of dog poop in order to.
That's okay, and let's stick to the present, because what we're doing with, that's not me, what we're doing with the study that was done, it pointed to specific areas where the water was coming into the storm drains at the street level and then coming out those pipes. So now our challenge is to go back at the street level, okay, identify a certain set of things, and you hear a little bit more about it. What do we need to do to knock down anything that has the potential of having bacteria enter into those stormwater systems?
And I just want to add to that, the study is a very sophisticated scientific study, and they do DNA analysis. They do conduct DNA analysis of the source of the bacteria, and we've been able to identify, is it dog, is it human, what type is it that's causing this elevated level of nutrients in the water.
Okay,
Yeah.
anybody.
I think it's good that we don't get stuck on this because we've been through this many times before.
Has anybody checked, just a stone's throw away, is where Surfside, Ball Harbor, Bay Harbor Island, all of the poop from all of those cities converges. And perhaps there's some overflow there.
I think that the UN study was really clear in the second phase that was just released and that the Commission went over very recently in identifying the outfalls going into the canal as the major contributor to the problem that we're experiencing. As you can imagine, it's a really large area, and this took me quite some time to understand myself. And I've been
It's not that I
working.
don't understand.
No, I want to make sure everybody does. And so it took me, as I'm saying, from my personal experience, a long time to understand this. And I thought that it was the pump stations too, because it's the natural culprit. It's right there beside the canal banks. But it's not on this occasion, because we have 9 different outfalls that are releasing contaminated, polluted water from all over North Beach. Every single stormwater drainage hole that you see on the side of the streets, those are all gathering the first couple of inches of water that falls, and nothing is buffering it. Nothing is taking out those bacteria, the fertilizers, all of those things, and it's going directly into the canal. So the issue is that I met with Mike Alvarez a couple of days ago before this meeting, and Mike had some very interesting information in regards to the injection wells that were planned for South Beach originally, for Mid Beach. And now we have injection wells also planned for North Shore Town Center D, phase 3 of the project. Phase 3 of the project is the last phase right now. And I don't even know if that's funded or not. Somebody from the city could confirm that. It's unfunded. So the only solution to fixing the Parkview Canal in the future, I wanted to wait until we got to the next topic, because that's where we're going to be discussing this. So let's just move to question number 3, which is Operation Clean Water, where we're going to be discussing all of these things. So Operation Clean Water North Beach is sponsored by Commissioner Alex Fernandez. It's a Parkview Canal Water Quality Restoration Project, and we're going to be going over the current status and the progress and near future planned upgrades, such as the hydrodynamic separators and the dredging of the canal in late 2026. So why don't we hand it over to Commissioner Fernandez, as this is his item, and then we can go over the details of how we're going to be working together on this.
And really, it's everyone's item, I'm just the one who put it. Yeah, Commissioner Dominguez co-sponsored, and it's everyone's item. You know, we saw the results of the phase 1 and phase 2 studies, and those results kind of pointed kind of like the direction of the low-hanging fruit of what we should be doing. So I'm just gonna go over a list of a few things that we're gonna be implementing in the short term, because there are more long-term improvements that, you know, the dredging is still unfunded, but we are working towards that. David, how far away are we from having full funding for the dredging?
Well, right now, there's $500,000 for the design phase. Once the design phase is completed, they'll determine what the cost is. It's estimated at $2 million right now, so if that ends up being the cost, then that will be the shortfall that you would have to see. And they're in the process of design now, so I imagine several months, probably a year at least, before you figure out what you can, what you can dredge, and what it's gonna look like. And that.
And how about the hydrodynamic separators? Where are we with that?
The hydrodynamic separators are funded, it's at, I believe, $2.2 million or so. I'll let Jay jump in on terms of how many and where, or any of the details.
Because these are the more long-term solutions.
So we're at 90% design, we're in permitting, we've already been with Durham. We've already answered some of their questions. We were waiting for the final permit, and then we should be out to bid final design sometime in June, out to bid by fall, and then we start construction less than a year worth of construction.
Okay, so even though it's short-term, it's kind of long-term, short-term type of a thing, Amy.
I just want to add too, though, that the dredging is funded. So we do have funding for the dredging. It's just a matter of what is the appropriate depth that would be, appropriate for the regulators, and also to help us achieve the water quality that we're looking for.
And one of the issues with the dredging that we've had is the regulatory approval from the other jurisdictions, and that's been the greater challenge for us. It's getting all the necessary approvals from the state and from Durham.
Yeah, it's just a process, exactly.
Yes, and so so you've heard two components of Operation Clean Water that we adopted as a result of phase 1 and 2. Those two components being looking at the stormwater and sanitary sewer system at Biscayne Beach Elementary. We've had great discussion about that. You now more recently heard about us asking Miami-Dade County to go and look at the private outfalls as potential sources of pollution for the Parkview Canal.
Have you done it?
I don't know, I can't answer that to you, and I have your same sense of urgency. If I could go out there and check it myself, I would, and I'll put on my white coat and do it, but we will have staff follow up on that, because it's really outside of our control. But we'll have staff follow up with that, with urgency. But there's a few other things that we're doing with Operation Clean Water, and staff feel free to interject as you deem necessary. One of the things is the more rigorous stormwater cleaning system program that doubles the level of service within the drainage basin from 3 times per year to 3 times in the next 6 months. And so what that means, we're doubling the amount of cleaning of the stormwater system over the next 6 months. Why? Because we feel if we aggressively address this, we'll be able to restore water quality. I don't know if staff wants to add anything on this or when we're starting that. Yeah,
We've already started, but yeah, the goal is to see if the additional cleaning shows up at the end of the pipe, if it makes a difference. Okay, if it does, we're onto something. If not, okay? You gotta keep trying something else, but.
The next point in the list, and we'll get to you, sir. The next point on the list, we're adding the catch basin filter fabric and sediment filter socks to key stormwater catch basins and the gutters in Parkview Island. It's something that's been discussed in the past. The city has never really done it because of flooding concerns. We know when we put, when we install these, if it's not cleaned frequently, you can cause accumulation, and that accumulation then during stormy season, rainy season, then you have flooding. But you won't have those accumulations if you're cleaning frequently, as we just said previously. So in addition to cleaning frequently, we're putting these devices, these socks and these filters to make sure that we don't have items, let's say someone with a poop bag of a dog that, makes its way to the gutter. You don't want that going into your sanitary sewer system. So you're pretty much putting a colander there to catch everything. I don't know if there's anything staff wants to add to that. No? All right.
I know that we're definitely going to see a difference from Operation Clean Water, because if you see basically all of the trash on the streets, bird poop, dog poop, human feces from the homeless community at times, it all influences the canal very deeply, because every time it rains, as we said, there's nothing collecting any of those sediments, none of that bacteria, none of those fertilizers from entering our waterway. And really, what we really need here is the injection wells. That's the only thing that's going to improve the Parkview Canal. It's basically like a really deep hole beside the pump stations. And instead of the stormwater getting pumped directly into the canal, it's pumped deep into the ground so that the water is filtered before it goes into the canal. And I'm sorry, but there's really no other solution. I think that all of these stuff that we're going to be retrofitting is going to help to a certain extent. But if we really want to resolve this issue long term, to never have to think about it again, the injection wells are the only way.
Yep. And staff is working on that. And you mentioned one of the other things that's so important. I'm glad you mentioned it because it's my lead-in. It's homeless. We know we have homeless individuals who are doing their life-sustaining activities in public, many in the mangroves. This is finding its way into the water, and of course, obviously, contributing to the elevated level of the enterococcus oxide that we see in the water. So one of the things that we're doing is that we're conducting more frequent sweeps of the watershed to provide services to homeless individuals. And explore increased access to sanitation facilities. Why? Because we don't want homeless individuals, pooping in public pretty much. So this is a collaboration with our Office of Housing and Community Services. Additionally, we're exploring additional street and sidewalk cleaning mechanism. And what that means, we're looking to bring in smaller equipment to be able to do the type of cleaning we haven't been able to do otherwise. And David, I don't know if you can chime in a little bit on that.
Yeah, the difficulties, of course, in sweeping and all that is obviously you have vehicles on the street, so it's necessary to look at the parking program so that there's a schedule that can get set up so that we're able to cover as much ground as possible to be able to clear debris. Anything you want to add, Jay?
No, in order to really be, and I'm going to stand on my soapbox. In order
I love soapbox.
to, if we're going to move the needle, it really starts at the gutter. And if we're going to move the needle at the gutter, that means the first thing we got to do is, where we see these problematic areas, we have to move the cars. We move the cars, we get street sweepers in. The street sweepers, it's got a mechanical steel brush. It's got a spray, it sprays water. So it actually, scrubs that gutter and removes that debris, which is a much better alternative than when the cars are there and the sanitation crews come by, they're using blowers to sort of blow the dirt, blow the leaves out of the street so they can sweep it up. That's the only way they can clean it, where they can use a broom and go along the gutter. But neither of those is really going to move the needle on water quality. You wanna get the water quality, you gotta let us scrub those gutters, and to do that, we gotta move the cars.
You know-
There, if I may, and you can ask a woman, there is already signage posted out there for alternate street parking, so that, you know, there's no parking at this particular, on this side, you know, from, I think it's 9 to noon or something like that, in strategic areas, so not everybody moves at the same time, but it allows the sanitation crew and the sweeper to come down and really clean that street. It has not been enforced since COVID, but what we're gonna start to look is to ramp up, work with the parking department, issue warnings, and start that program up so we can get those cars moved. As soon as we can do that, we hopefully are gonna really start to make a difference.
And we don't wanna have to tow cars, but the reality is that,
Actually, I think Laura.
Oh, yeah.
Ask about.
Yeah, I was just gonna mention a few times, we've talked about injection wells, and for the general public, if you're not familiar with what they are, they help treat the water before it goes out into the bay, and that's part of the water quality. Anything more to add about that, Jay?
So, what's been said is, yes, a certain amount of water, storm water will go in those injection wells. What it's really looking at doing is treating what's known as the first flush, that first inch of rainfall, which when, you know, you turn a hose on, you see it go down the driveway, or you see it when it first starts raining. Everything from anything that's floatable, any hydrocarbons, any gasoline, oils, that all starts to go as soon as it starts to rain. What this new system will be looking at is taking that first flush, collecting that, and diverting it into those injection wells. Now, naturally, when you get 3 inches of rain, it really starts pouring, there's so much water that's coming that you can't force it all into the ground. So it's really looking at, take the first inch, put it in the ground. After that, the big pumps kick in, and we'll go through the water quality mechanisms that they have at the pump stations, but then pump that water out.
I just wanted to say something. We have street cleaning on the island every Wednesday and Friday, but Wednesday morning is when everybody puts out their recycling. So when he comes, he cannot clean there. It's
so,
ridiculous.
thank you.
Great
That
point,
is-
thank you.
That is
It's not just recycling. Wednesday and Saturdays are trash day on the
Yeah,
parking
but
lot.
they-
Let me just add something, can you all remind, SFM to make sure that their operators are not blowing leaves into the street? Because that goes down the gutter and it clogs up the gutters.
And that's what they do.
One of the other things that was placed as part of this is the feasibility of implementing the UV disinfection of street level hotspots. That's something that we're looking at, the feasibility of doing that UV lighting that would disinfect the water. We don't quite know yet the viability of that science, so we're studying that because it does come at a significant investment, so staff is studying that before we go in there. And one of the last many other things that we're going to be doing is we're going to be implementing a weekly shoreline cleaning program that we're hoping to partner with community organizations, with OMAR, with the Parkview Island Sustainability Organization and others, because this is not just something the city can do on its own. We really need to partner with the community, and it's not just about cleaning. The residents need to see that we are out there proactively doing this, because that's going to be their reminder to move their car when the streets need to be cleaned, the reminder to use the dog bags when their dogs poop, the reminder to the bigger issue and
Not to
run.
change the oil and pull out the plug and let it go right into the street.
The reminder of that
All the
too.
time on my
Yes.
street.
So it's a big effort. There's a lot in Operation Clean Water. It's not the city doing it alone. We're gonna be teaming up with the neighborhood to get this done, but it's a 6-month effort. David, when are we launching this, all the components of this all together?
I believe right now the tentative date is May 19th, 6 p.m. at the Parkview Park is a tentative date. I don't know if that's
Yes.
been confirmed, but that's the date.
We've been working with the Commissioner's Office to confirm that date. I think we're all set for the 19th. We're going to be hosting kind of like a launch event just outside of the island entrance. So You're all invited, please join us. We're gonna be hosting a cleanup around the perimeter of the Dickens Canal and the Tatum Waterway Walkway. The
In the
reason,
meantime, there's work going on. I mean, in the
Yes.
meantime, there is a lot of work going on, but this is just a lunch that engages the community because the city can do everything, but we need all hands on deck and we need the community involved in it.
and the reason why these two commissioners are sitting up here today is because when I founded the association, Mark Samlin, who was Laura's partner, life partner, was the first one to open the door for me. And he really kind of took me under his wing and really helped me navigate the scene at first. And of course, Laura's here with us today, and she's been a great advocate of the Parkview project in total and the surrounding area. I want to really talk about the item that Laura sponsored almost 2 years ago now, which is the Tatum Waterway Walkway. It's a public safety upgrade and renaming of the walkway to a nature trail. Now, this would be the first nature trail that we would have in North Beach. And
Where is it?
Hang on.
on the Tatum Waterway Walkway. It would not be called the Tatum Waterway Walkway anymore. It would be called the Tatum Waterway Nature Trail.
But where is that?
When Neeson Cassidy was mayor, that area was designated as Friendship Walk.
Okay.
So you might want to think about that.
I mean, we're open to accepting recommendations.
Yeah, so there's still a long ways before we take full control. So last year I had a field trip and I went with the Environment and Sustainability Department. Lindsay was there, and the school board was there, people from the county were there, and it was a dog. He had the flu that day. We were there in spirit. We had a robust discussion in my office about Parkview Island and North Beach. And we set up this field trip and we walked through the area. It's a little bit complicated because the city is right behind the school, Biscayne Elementary. The city owns Biscayne's parking lot, and then Biscayne owns part of the walkway. The school board owns part of the walkway. So one of the things that I put forth was a resolution for the city to work with the school board on getting an easement. Because then when we have that, we can move forward with renovating, restoring, and making that trail what it actually should be. So we're in that process right now. The Miami-Dade County Public Schools attorney sent our attorneys some legal paperwork, and then our city attorney staff looked at the easement, and it's now, the ball's in our court to send it back to them. And it's a long process, as Omar said. Discussions first started 2 years ago. Last year was the field trip, and here we are. But it's exciting because it is moving forward, and once the city has the control, it will be better. There will be extensive permitting because of the level of mangroves that are in that area in order for us to proceed with the work. But it's doable, it's going to be beautiful, and when the time comes, we'll talk about the name.
Yeah, I think that it's really important to have a nature trail there. Although the Friendship Walk sounds like a wonderful idea, just 1 second. The nature trail is almost like a natural thing for that walkway right there, because it's surrounded by nature, it's on the canal, and there's so many different species of birds, wildlife, everything there. So, I mean, it is a friendship walk, but it sounds more reasonable to name it a nature trail. But that's something that we can talk about at a later point. Obviously, it's just a small detail of the whole project. But you know, we were very concerned when we seen the state of the current Tatum Waterway walkway, especially with how the county is treating the walkway right now by putting up this horrible plastic mesh fencing all around it. People are breaking the fence, they're trying to get into the canal to recreate anyway, and this is not something that's going to stop. Like, people are not going to be stopped from doing what they want when they want to recreate in those waters, because it's their home, it's their community. And so that's why we're working on this nonstop. I'm working on it nonstop together with all of the different departments, because it's really important and it is very time consuming. unfortunately, we just can't get things done overnight because there's so many different departments and municipalities and governments involved. But we're getting somewhere, you know, little by little we are seeing progress. And I think that the Parkview Canal, the Tatum Waterway Walkway, will be a huge benefit to the entire area, not just Parkview, but Biscayne Beach, Biscayne Point, and all the surrounding communities also.
Everyone uses that walk, everyone.
Absolutely everything.
It's really beautiful to walk through there.
And another name for it is also Crab Alley. So there's a couple of different things we need to think about. Yeah.
Since I was a kid, it's been crap.
Yes.
There used to be crabs there, but the pollution.
There used to be a lot of crabs.
Trash them all the little crabs.
How about a friendly crab nature outing?
How about, once we get the water clean, we reintroduce crabs to there?
Why aren't
Oh,
there
there's
so
one
many?
that go, I saw one that goes sideways the other day.
So one of the projects that we've been working on from our end on the Parkview Island Sustainable Association over the last year and a half is an oyster project.
Please.
Yes, so oysters are amazing. They're called a keystone species because they are the key to a lot of life in marine life. And so Biscayne has just suffered a lot over the last 2-3 decades, I guess, with pollution and the growth of our coastal cities. And so that's killed off a lot of the wild oyster populations. Biscayne Bay was full of oysters in the 1970s, 60s, 80s. But now they're almost gone. So we want to create an oyster regeneration project on Parkview Island using the private docks that are available to us. And I've been working to design these 3D models that are going to be 3D printed in their studio so that we can attach them to the private docks. And I've been doing this on my private dock for the last year and a half. And we've been having wild, like really amazing results. The oysters have now grown to full maturity, and we have 2 different species, the leaf tree oyster. The eastern oyster is a little more finicky. It doesn't like the changes in salinity as much, doesn't like the pollution as much on the high fertilizers in the water. So we've seen that the leaf tree oysters are doing amazingly well. Like they're spreading to other docks, they're spreading to anywhere they can. And the issue is that there's not enough habitat for them because oysters are the favorite food of so many of these crabs and marine species, birds, raccoons, everything eats them. And so what we want to do is create these habitats to protect them, allowing them to get to maturity so that when they get to maturity, they can spread from one dock to the other, from one dock to the other. And essentially, we're going to have a chain of oysters that are going to be cleaning the water and retrieving pollutants, including nitrogen, phosphorus, which are the 2 biggest problems that with water today. So that's definitely something that we're working on. We're really, really excited about, and hopefully we'll get some more traction on that very soon. Thank you.
This is very exciting. I was wondering, are you going to be able to just keep us posted on that? Because that sounds, even, you've done a great job of just making certain events community focused. So whenever it's ready, we really.
Definitely. I cannot wait to share it with everybody. It's going to be coming very soon. And if you sign up to our newsletter, if you're not subscribed to it, we send a very engaging newsletter every single month. I think we're ready to move on to Commissioner Laura Dominguez's next item, which is directly related to Parkview Island. It's the Parkview Entrance Project, and this is something that I'm especially very, very excited about. As you know, the entrance of Parkview Island looks terrible. It hasn't seen any changes actually since it was built. It's the original signage, the ironclad signs on the side of the bridge. They're weathered, they're not even painted. So we need this. And it's an absolute joy to be able to say that we have $1.06 million in capital improvements as part of the FY26 budget. And this is Commissioner Laura Dominguez's item, so I'll let her take it through.
Well, this is the item that I'm advocating for, and I do need your guys' guys' help. We're about
It is sunshine.
we're about to enter our budget cycle, and the repairs that are needed for the entrance of Parkway Island came in at $1.06 million. That's not funded yet. So I need for you to advocate and write all of that to the commission, so that as we enter our budgets discussions this year, I'm not the only one saying, we need to do this, we want to fund this. So having interest from the community and advocating for it will really be helpful. But there's many beautiful things that are happening with that. It can either be done all at once or in phases, but of course it's more cost effective and much better to have it done all at once. The initial phase includes the pavers along the entrance. There's going to be landscaping and canopy and tree improvements there. And the final phase would be the sign. And I'll ask the Assistant City Manager, did I miss anything?
Yeah, so, yeah, you pretty much covered almost all of it. There'll be some pylon lights along both sides of the bridge, also included as that, the monument sign that you mentioned. And just to elaborate, the paper brick treatment would be on both sides of the bridge. So as you enter and as you can come into the island, you'd have a paper brick treatment on both sides.
Similar to what they have at Biscayne Point, right?
Right. And, well, this is what has been decided is the amount due. It's not funded yet. We do need to ensure that it's voted on if it's going to move forward in 2026.
And we're gonna make sure of that. There's plenty of residents here that are gonna advocate for it, and I'm gonna be advocating for it fiercely, so we're gonna get an entrance for sure. Okay, next I have also a really cool item. It's the introduction to North Beach Collaborative Group. We have Antonio Lopez and his wife here, Carrie. We've had a couple of meetings in the recent number of months with the North Beach Collaborative Group, that we called it. It's an effort from community residents from 72nd to 86th Streets. A community-driven effort from 72nd to 86th Street, enhancing community wellness and social connection in the wider community. So I'd like to invite Antonio to join us up here for a second so that he can walk you through what they're all about.
Thank you, and it's really exciting to be here, especially I have to make a comment regarding the entrance. About the entrance, I want to tell you it's so important because basically you want to have something that will be warm, welcoming, and attractive, and saying to anybody, first to the residents, but especially people visiting the Park Island, to say, we value you, you are welcome. So I totally will support that as part of the North Beach, certainly. So congratulations. So we are a newly formed group, and we have, I can tell you, we continue to get emails and calls, and people want to be part of this. We're really passionate about working and be a catalyst to help North Beach and work with an amazing commissioner, both of you, amazing friends of North Beach and support of us with Pablo Altos del Mar Park. So thank you to both of you. And so we would like to, again, be a catalyst in terms of seeing North Beach becoming a thriving, right, a more socially connected community and a healthier community. And so recently we have a house, which was a house at 7605 Goldings, and both of these commissioner, the Special Commissioner Fernandez, really been supportive and taking a look at proposed uses for that house. And the Land Use and Committee, correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner, has made a recommendation to the Commission to look at that house to have I want to add this, a world-class marine science and museum there. And this will really work, and I believe, and we believe, in enhancing social connection and community wellness. And so we're really excited about that. We have close to 40 residents that have become sort of part of this conversation that we're having and working in collaboration with our commissioners. We have some of the members here today, so I just want to point out to Michelle and John. They have been incredible supporter of this. My beautiful wife, Carrie, and we have Laura and
Deborah Diana.
and Deborah, yes, here. So we're really excited about North Beach. We believe that we have an incredible situation there, and we're very fortunate to be residents of a beautiful part of Miami Beach. There's no question, the potential is incredible, but you know, the greatest potential is the people and the residents that are making things happen, and especially when you have commissioners that really come to you and say, how can we work in collaboration with you? And we're very fortunate to have both of you. And Omar, you're an incredible friend, and now you're part of our collaborative, so thank you so much. Thank you for being here. It's really exciting, and I'm very happy to hear about the incredible steps that have been taken for Parkview Island. And I truly believe in listening to what some of the city officials have mentioned here, that we are going in the right direction. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Antonio. And I'm going to pass around, this is a survey that we did a couple of months ago in one of our newsletters. We had over 50 responses from the community, which is a lot actually, because some of the surveys that the city sends out doesn't even warrant that amount of responses sometimes. But we basically were looking at what the top uses proposed for 7605 Collins would be. The top two uses there, as Antonio correctly pointed out, one of them was the headquarters for a sea turtle sanctuary, which has now become more of a marine science, what do we call it? A marine science center and museum? Educational center and museum. And the second one was a working... Yes, that's the second one. So the second one was a working lab for the Surfrider, which received 58% of the votes, and the headquarters for the Marine Science Center received 50% of the votes. So I think the community was very clear on what they want for that location right there. And the community was definitely very clear on what they did not want. They did not want office spaces there, basically, just to put it plainly. So yeah, I'll pass this around, and maybe at the same time, we can move on to the next item, which is my item. It's Biscayne Beach Elementary, the community playgrounds expansion project. Oh yeah, of course. Please go ahead.
Can I ask you a question?
I just want to chime in on the house a little bit. And first and foremost, to Commissioner Dominguez, I just want to say, very happy to support Commissioner Dominguez on the capital investment for the entrance upgrades to Parkview Island. If you want to see something like this get done, you want to enhance of Commissioner Dominguez. She's pushing forward with a pedestrian bridge on 5th Street. She delivered the Belle Isle Dog Park, which is, by the way, beautiful. She's working on the Baywalk. So this is who you want advocating on something like this. And I'm also excited to be a co-sponsor of, where credit is due, of Commissioner Suarez's item for the Marine Science Education Center. The reason why I joined as a co-sponsor, I just want to explain the recommendation of the Land Use Committee. When the city invested the $6 million to purchase this house, it was done using funds from the building department. And what that means is that the use of the house would have to be, in a large part, limited to uses for the building department by law, because the law just states if you use these funds from the building department, well, then the use of the house has to be for that purpose. And that's not our law, that's state law that we have to follow. When we discussed this at committee, the motion that we made at committee, and the reason why I joined as a co-sponsor, is because our recommendation is that the city buy out the building department's investment in the house, use the general fund to be able to buy out, so that way we can open up the use of the house to other uses not related to the building department, like Surfrider, like the Marine Science Education Center. So I just want to explain that, because that is something significant that's really gonna untie the hands of the city commission on how we'll be able to use this house in the future.
And it was a big investment by the building department, because I think it was $6 million that the city would need to use.
We overpaid.
Yeah, just to comment on that, I know, that what was going to happen to that building, or the neighbors caring about what was going to happen to that building is really what instigated Tony bringing a lot of the neighbors together. And I just wanted to say thank you to all of you, because I know you're focused on keeping that on a positive thing that's good for the neighborhood. And thank you to Tony for forming the group that's focused on North Beach. I think that building can be a heart of a new, brightness to the community, especially with the park right there. So I just wanted to, as a resident, speak up on it and say, I really love all what you guys are doing, and I hope it can just kind of keep rolling. And thank you, Tony, for getting everybody involved that's in the area.
It's definitely huge progress. With the survey, we were able to get this show on the road, as they say. You know, it really clarified what the community wanted for that location and helped. We're very grateful to Commissioner Fernandez and the City Commission for working so diligently on this to make sure that it's going to remain as a very good community use. Okay, so we're going to move on to item number 8, which is the Biscayne Beach Elementary Community Playgrounds Expansion Project. I am a member of the North Beach Community Redevelopment Agency, the advisory committee. Unanimously, we voted to fund $1.6 million for the first major project directly funded by the North Beach Community Redevelopment Agency since inception at the April meeting. The project was fully approved by the City Commission meeting on April 23rd. And so now we're at the stage where there's no more questions of whether this project is actually going to happen or not. It's moving forward. And we have the two most dedicated commissioners up here to tell you all about it.
Impact fees. Impact fees. Very important.
Well, we're just very
Getting things
grateful.
like this done.
This is one, I'll just put it to you this way.
This was an item, who brought this item? I can't.
Kristen Rose Gonzalez, and it was co-sponsored by Tanya Latz.
There you go. And of course, with the support of the CRA, this is why we are fighting so hard. I'm gonna just go off on a side note here. This is why we are fighting so hard against state preemptions, especially as it relates to things. Well, number one, my biggest fight is historic preservation, and I'm not even gonna open that conversation right now because it's just all too upsetting. But the second one is the CRAs. And there's state preemptions making their way through Tallahassee that the city of Miami Beach, along with other cities, are fighting strongly so that we can continue to have access to these funds. And this underscores how having the CRA can deliver great results for our community, and we still have more dollars available there to do other important projects. So we're going to keep on fighting hard this session to make sure that the CRA stays in existence, that we continue having these dollars available so we can continue delivering more great projects.
Yeah, that's something that we were discussing as part of the advisory committee agenda last month. We were shocked that the CRA may not be able to either initiate any new projects after July of this year or fund any new projects after September or October of this year. And that's crazy because when you think about it, something that's really hot right now, that the Ville redevelopment, is supposed to be giving back $350 million worth of tax increments over the lifespan of the CRA to the North Beach community. And the other community benefits that are being provided as part of the Ville redevelopment are not enough for the community if the developer is wanting us to change our laws and increase the FAR to twice what it currently is allowed. So if you're going to be demanding more from our community, we want you to give more back, because your project is going to be profiting off the backs of our community. So why should we allow you to come in and build all of this extra development space for your property when we have all these infrastructural issues in North Beach? You heard from public works that we don't have the injection wells funded. And so where are we going to get all those funds if we keep allowing all of these developers to build without the correct impact fees or providing the correct community benefits? And so that's where we're at right now.
And I also want to highlight Commissioner Tanya Abad, because as Christine has been mentioning, impact fees. It's been, I think, 30 years or something like that. How long?
We have
35 years that they've been updated to current standards. So Commissioner Bond is leading the effort so that developers have to pay a more appropriate impact fee, adjusted to CPI, is it, I believe it is?
Yeah, I'd like to.
Retroactively? Not retro, I wish it was compounded retroactively, you know?
The last outreach meeting that the developer held, I think it was like a week or two ago, on Zoom. It was a hybrid meeting, I think, and I attended. I spoke on behalf of our community, and I spoke regarding the community benefits or lack thereof. And one of the extended community benefits the developer said that he was going to be providing was $40,000 for the Biscayne Beach Elementary Playgrounds expansion project. $40,000. And he's building a $1 million pocket park right across from the bill that nobody asked for. And basically it's a swear. So could we get, a little bit of help with the Parkview Island Canal? Could we get a little bit of funding from these future developments? Let's not just focus on the DeVille redevelopment, but there's another 13 or 14 projects going to be developed in North Beach over the next number of years. And do we really want the same as 72 Park right across the street? Where's the community benefits? What did they
Took
provide?
away the bike lane.
They took things away instead of providing things. We don't want that with the next 13 developments. So that's why I'm standing here with my colleagues in the community, because I'm not a commissioner, but I am deeply involved and my heart is in this. So just like my heart is in this, I know that their heart is in this, because Mark Samuel may have been the first one to help me, but Alex Fernandez was also the first commissioner to come to the sponsor an item for the Parkview Canal and to stay with us all of these years. So I think a round of applause is definitely deserved. Thank you so much. Yes. Okay, so the last item is one that was brought by the Burley House and Central Pay Condominium, feasibility to include Burley House and Central Pay to residential parking program. And this one is presented by Sandra from Burley House.
We're ready to put that on the agenda.
Hi, hello everybody. Thank you for being here and giving us the time. So the Burley and the Santa Fe, which were close to 500 units, meaning 500 voters, 500 taxpayers. We really need to be part of the residential parking program, because now we lost 100 public parking with Ocean Terrace for the new construction. And now for the very limited parking spaces we have, we're competing with the businesses, the employees, the visitors, the beachgoers, and we just don't have parking for our friends and families to come and see us. Our buildings don't have that many guest parkings, if any, right now. And the other thing is, I live on 71st and Collins.
I remember you telling me when you go visit your neighbors.
When I go see Paula, and
You can't.
I have to use one of her limited visitor parking permits.
So we've we put in a request already for a referral to send this to the neighborhoods, to the Public Safety Neighborhood Quality of Life Committee. I'd love to work with Commissioner Dominguez on this if you're interested. Whether there's voters, taxpayers there, our job is not it's your quality of life. It's not whether you're a voter or not. That's respective. But we are looking at it. You mentioned it the other day at the NOBI collaborative meeting, and we are looking at it not just specifically for your parking need there, but we don't want to disenfranchise you from the rest of your neighborhood and not being able to engage with the rest of your neighbors, because this is one community and we don't want to break it up by zones.
Yes, and I think that's a very important point. We feel like left out of the neighborhood that we love. So thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Have a good Christmas.
I think that's our agenda. It was very interesting going through 9 such elaborate points so quickly. But we're going to take some questions and answers now. If anybody has some questions, please make your way up to the front, or I can bring the mic over to you. I'll come over to you, Karen.
I just want to know when we're going to address traffic. Traffic.
That's an investment. We address it every day.
No, but what's become of traffic in North Beach?
It's everywhere in the city.
Not like it is in North Beach. No, it's never been like this, ever. I was born here. Never been like this. I mean, if you tried to get to Parkview Island from Surfside, anytime after 3, you just can't. You just can't.
Parkview Island tonight to get here.
And also, with all these buildings that are going up, how many more people are gonna have cars? What is going to happen?
I share your concern.
What is going to happen? Does anybody care, or they just care about the money from the development?
And so that's a very unfair statement, because
It wasn't the same as the question.
We care tremendously. I'll tell you, for me to leave my house, for me to be able to back up my house, sometimes it takes me 15 minutes just to be able to back out of my house. We're actually looking, whatever development we've considered is development that actually reduces density, the amount of people that would be allowed at a location. And a lot of what you've seen here, it predates Commissioner Dominguez and myself, and has been by past commissions. This commission has been extremely conservative when it comes to approving new development. But listen, I hear your frustration.
Indian Creek was never like this before.
I understand. And it didn't happen overnight. I mean, this is, and by the way, this isn't just Miami Beach traffic, and this is what we need to understand.
Yes.
This is a region, we have traffic that's coming through our city, it's coming all the way from Sunny Isles, that's coming through from Bal Harbour, that is coming from North Bay Village, and we are paying the consequences for it. And not until the state of Florida and Miami-Dade County organizes the Barrier Island municipalities to be able to see the shared infrastructure that we have and put controls in developments, not just in Miami Beach, but in our surrounding cities, will we be able to really, see any control in this? Because for as conservative as we can try to be in Miami Beach, we don't control the tremendous upzoning that just happened in North Bay Village. And we don't control the towers being approved in the cities to our north. But they come through Miami Beach, and they come through Collins Avenue, and they come through 71st Street, and that's affecting us. So we can only control what we can control, and we've been very conservative. I think Mayor Minor will tell you, even though he's not here, I'm pointing to his aide, how proud he is on how little we discuss about development on our city commission, because we really are concerned about the quality of life impact that this is having. We're concerned on the impact it's having on the infrastructure and an overall concurrency, and it's going to be a challenge, but we can't undo the development that's already
I
happened.
understand, but I'm just talking about Indian Creek. Indian Creek.
So the traffic is a big concern for everybody, and I know there's a couple of different items that have been looked at also. Hopefully we can definitely work this out, because it does keep getting worse. So we have another
I'll just
question.
chime in real quickly. Traffic is very complicated. We have streets that are owned by FDOT, some are owned by the county, some are owned by the city. We have cameras all over the city, and FDOT has a location out by Doral area, Southwest Dade, where Miami Beach streets are in their traffic center. They know what's going on. They're trying to see ways to reroute it. We work with the county, who's responsible for synchronizing all of our lights. There's construction projects that are happening day and night from FDOT and FPL. So there's a lot of contributing factors. We're aware it's an issue, and one of our colleagues is passionate about micro-mobility, and they're looking for ways to get people out of their cars and walking, biking, scooter. I mean, it's going to be complicated.
And in addition to that, that sign that Commissioner Dominguez mentioned that FDOT has, we have staff out in that site that helps coordinate so that we can put out the proper messaging on that. We also have prohibit right-of-way work during certain hours on some the major corridors so that you don't end up with FPL or some of these other utility companies doing work during peak hours when they could be doing this work at night. And we do it to precisely to alleviate that concern. And by the way, since you mentioned, developers and all that, at our last city commission meeting, I proposed, and it was adopted unanimously by the city commission, a moratorium. Because we are very concerned, and this is something that has to go to the planning board, and we're gonna have to approve by ordinance. But there's only so much we can take, and not until we see the full consequence on infrastructure and on traffic that a lot of this other development is causing, which we already know because we're living it, we can't be approving more of it. And so I hope this reassures to you how seriously we are taking this issue.
Thank you for all of that. To piggyback on top of the traffic, there are a few things that I would love some support on that I think can help that. Support for e-bikes and e-scooters. Where can they ride that are safe and not running people over? Bus stops. Why are they the least safe place in the city? Can we make them more safe and more clean for the people to want to ride them? And then can we get some trees in North Beach? Because I would walk everywhere if we had trees. And those three things I think would, at least locally, help people from staying out of their cars.
We currently have, I think it's under the code of silence, but bus stops are being redone to be modernized, more beautiful, protect with the elements. We are also in the process of executing a canopy project with trees, and North Beach is definitely one of the phases, so more to come with that.
Yeah, and I'll also add that in our bus stops, so there is a requirement for pressure washing and for upkeeping this. And David, I don't know if you can chime in, but I know that the private contractor has been engaged in doing pressure washing, and they're providing regular updates to the city on the pressure washing of these facilities. I don't know if that's something that falls under your portfolio.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So that's underway. As it relates to the e-bikes, as per the last contract with City Bike, that's our bike share program. Miami Beach was the first city to have a bike share program. It is the most successful bike share program in the United States. Just so you know, the city actually, when other cities have to put money into their bike share programs, in Miami Beach actually makes money from its bike share program. But to ensure that people have a safe place to ride these bicycles where they're not engaging with pedestrians, you'll see that over the course of several years, you're going to see a connectivity program from South Beach all the way to North Beach. So, for example, right now at Mid Beach, from 23rd Street to 41st Street, you have the Indian Creek pathway and a bicycle lane that runs parallel to it that takes you from 23rd Street, from pretty much South Beach, all the way to 41st Street. We have, in the planning phase, we just approved with FDOT, that I worked with FDOT on this, on a Collins Avenue multimodal corridor plan that is going to provide you with a safe alternative from 41st Street up to 63rd Street. That's already has been approved by the city and by FDOT. I was very proud to work on that, and Commissioner Dominguez was a big supporter of that as well. And now we're working with FDOT and seeing that area north of 63rd Street. How do we continue the connectivity for bicycles beyond 63rd Street? And so we're looking at how can we incorporate these bicycle lanes, and part of what's being considered is, can we shave a couple of feet from each side of the sidewalk on Collins Avenue so that we can incorporate a bicycle lane without taking away parking from the businesses? For several months now, we've been trying to look at different alternatives. We've looked at, do we take away parking? Do we take, how do we do this? And the only way that we think we can achieve this is if we take away a little bit of sidewalk from each side, we keep the parking, and then accommodate the bicycle lane. We're chatting right now with FDOT on that possibility, and hopefully soon we'll be able to have, again, a more formal discussion about this at the city commission.
I have a question over here.
Hi. I know I've been raising my hand, and it's just passion. It's just my passion. Thank you both for your time, and as our elected officials, Commissioner Fernandez, you were talking earlier about legislation from Florida and how it's affecting Miami Beach and other places, and how you were fighting very, very strongly to preserve historical buildings, the deco and all that. I mean, like I mentioned, I'm here maybe 3 years, and there's many dedicated people here, but I know there's many others who maybe either don't know about it or just need a little bit more interest to come to these groups that you come in and talk to us. So the reason I'm saying that is because I would like to actively ask if when these things are coming where you're getting pushback and you're fighting for us, if there are ways that we can support you as a community, because he knows 5 people, I know, if there's enough of us to have a strong voice to help you to preserve the things that we all want to see in Miami Beach. So I was gonna get up and, it's more like, think about us when you're going through these ideas of how to prevent, because we all, I'm talking for myself, but I'm pretty sure everybody here wants to help.
And if you follow us on social media, you'll see when there's something of urgency and action if we need your help.
Yeah, and our challenge is that a couple of years ago, the state changed the laws, so we can't even really do advocacy using our own city resources. So I can't, like, you'll see, you may have gotten an email from me today.
I did, and I was.
You'll notice it didn't necessarily say email your state senator, or it didn't say call your state senator, and it didn't tell you what to say, because by law, we are prohibited from using our state resources to actually do advocacy. But as Commissioner Dominguez mentioned, if you follow our social media, you'll be able to see, because that's not an official city resource, you'll be able to see what we're doing. And I just want to thank our staff. I want to thank our Assistant City Manager, David Martinez, who's incredibly patient with me, and I'm sure with Commissioner Dominguez too. We call him all the time, nights and weekends, but also our public work teams, J. Fink, Patricia, I was about to say Francesca, Amy, Lindsay, our entire team for their support. They come here, they sacrifice a lot of time from their families for these public meetings, not just here, but in every single neighborhood. We have about 40 different neighborhood associations, and they attend all of them. And Omar, I'm so grateful for you organizing us and for keeping us informed and educated on the issues, because everyone is pulling for our attention, but you are there, you have been a bastion, you've been there every day, making sure that we're on top of this.
A big thank you to Omar. I also want to give a shout out to my aide, Julian. He literally is your neighbor. He lives on 73rd and Byron, so if you see him out and about, Julian, do say hello. Okay, last question.
I don't have a question, just a comment. First, thank you, Omar, for organizing and everyone in the community for coming. It's been a while that we have these meetings, and it's really great to be here and listen to everyone participate. I can tell you Parkview Isle has not been an isolated issue. This has been an issue for many, many years. Deborah spent a good couple of decades cleaning up Crab Alley, as we called it back then.
Thank you.
But I'm very impressed how the city's getting involved in these difficult issues. The waterway quality has not been something that the city has taken responsibility, it's not their responsibility, or maybe it is, don't know. But I'm glad to see the complicated efforts being made in a variety of ways to tackle this complicated issue. With you advocating, the city commission pushing, the city administration going out and doing things that normally haven't been done. So in many decades, you guys are making a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. And actually, that's why I founded this association, because I felt we needed to rebuild the bridge of communication and friendship with the city, because there was nothing when I moved onto the island. And it has been a struggle. The previous commission and the previous mayor were not as forthcoming as this commission and mayor, and we've been getting a lot more work done, very resident community first. So just like we've been trying, if you'd like to join us, please do so. We would love to work with you and expand our group further to bring health, wellness, economic development, environmental sustainability, and better safety and public safety for everyone. So thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure.